Welcome back to Oneself. My name is Stephen Maher, and with me today and with me always is Adam Bartleman. Adam, thanks so much for joining me today, my friend.
Thanks for having me as always, Stephen. Always a pleasure to
Yeah,
chat.
absolutely. Absolutely. Today we're talking about two earths, right? Two earths, two things that we see happening in human consciousness that kind of create this split in reality. On one side, you see the human population that's in the news, the tech oligarchs, the bigger, better, faster, stronger, what the media's talking about, what the government's talking about, what they're focused on, what they're concerned about, and better technology, better weapons, more control. um and that's common for a lot of the governments around the world, right? That's one sect of what we see. The other side, and it's more scattered, it's not as much of a movement now, but there's people looking in, right? Looking within. They're not, trying to get a chip implanted in their brain or to live forever, to transfer their consciousness into, a computer chip or something. They're looking inward, right? And trying to heal as much as any of us can, right? The things that are going on, trying to heal our nervous systems, trying to make those feelings of safety and love that we might not have felt as children, had those come through, right? And really try to be okay with ourselves and healing, and starting with ourselves and then trying to expand outward, and trying to live more in harmony with the earth rather than trying to conquer it, which is what I would say like the first segment of the population is trying to do. They're trying to conquer, right? Just everything, our minds, attention, the resources, like all of it. And but we see this emerging group of people, and we hope to, I think we consider ourselves to be a part of that, right? um Trying to live in harmony with the earth, trying to just be tenders in the garden of this planet. And because earth provides, right? If we just paid enough attention, and took care of it, like, everyone would be in a much better place if it wasn't, greed, right? Greed. If things weren't hoarded, if resources weren't hoarded, if control, right? I think there would be a lot more abundance for everybody. Um, and what's the point of this, right? It's like, we have our segment finding other cool people like we did on episode 19 with Alex last week. And so it's just like the point of that is just like to find those other people doing cool stuff and, forming communities, even if they're, not in the same spot geographically, right? But like maybe online, and then that will transcend into like, a physical location maybe, or a meetup, or, whatever, hopefully cool things, right? That's our hope and goal. So Adam, yeah, I just want your take, man, on, this two earths, what you're seeing in the world, and with the first segment of that of that population, and how hopefully there's this new emerging people that are, trying to look in, trying to improve their minds, trying to acknowledging that, death is just a part of life, not trying to techno, create or innovate my way out of death, or
Yeah.
whatever. The craziness that we see with the, chips, or, transferring consciousness, or any of that sort of crazy stuff. But
Yeah, man. And yeah, you touched on a lot of great points and spoke really well to how that's all playing out, and summing it up so succinctly.
mm,
Yeah, my take on it is well, just my familiarity with it. I think anyone who has touched on any new age spiritual teachings in the last little while has almost certainly come across the idea of the two earths, like the almost like a bifurcation of human society or consciousness, like what does it look like? I've heard a lot of different ideas and thoughts on it, and always taking everything with a grain of salt, because I mean a lot of stuff that has come through that new age spiritual pipeline is distortion, some of it intentional probably, and a lot of it ends up being BS, some of it's legit. I think that a lot of truth is hidden behind BS. We get inundated with with a bunch of stuff that doesn't make any sense, so that our vision is obscured to the point that we can't even like recognize truth when it's actually coming at us because we're so used to being lied to. So with all that being considered, that is something that still pops into my awareness quite a bit, and it seems through my experience to be true to some extent, and maybe that can be true for different people in different ways, but my take on it is like, yeah, it really does seem like most of the population is kind of going deeper into the conveniences, the modern like technology, expecting their Amazon deliveries and their Uber Eats, and depending on big pharma to take care of them, their governments to take care of them, even though the evidence to any not even keen observer, but just casual observer, in my opinion, would point in the direction of not trusting those entities. But so we got one group that's kind of, you know,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Understatement of the year right
yeah.
there.
Yeah, let's keep it light. Let's keep it light.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but,
They're trying to kill us. No, I'm just playing.
yeah, yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just I I don't even know how anyone can argue against that, but anyway,
Yeah.
it's, we got the group that's still believing what, the government tells them, still believing the talking box, whatever comes across the television, the news. I've spent some time in the States in the last few years. As a good example, the prescription medication advertisements on TV, like, you don't see that in other parts of the world. It's just, like,
No, I think,
bananas.
like, New Zealand's the only other place that allows it,
Okay.
and yeah, and as that should be. Like, it's like, that's insane. That's
Oh,
insane.
and they're just, like, making up medications for symptoms that have come about because of unprocessed trauma and, like, for, like, diseases that I didn't even know existed. It's just like, man, it's just deeper and deeper, and, a medication to deal with that, and then another medication to deal with the side effects from that medication. Anyway, I digress. Um that population that still believes in so deeply in the illusion, right? That we've got going here, our co-creation. We got to recognize that it is a co-creation, and we're all responsible for it. But then those of us in the other group who are in one way or another waking up to the fact that it is all an illusion, that the insanity that has seems to have grown exponentially over the last couple decades, is reaching a point where it's helping a lot of people wake up. It's trapping some people deeper in it, and some people are being, jostled awake because of it. And yeah, so anyway, the new Earth, or the two Earths, whatever you want to call it, seems to be playing out in some sort of way. And so, our topic for discussion today is that. And yeah, I mean, it seems like that to me, and it seems like that second group is kind of, as I said, waking up to the nonsense of this illusion, and realizing that we don't need to have a microchip implanted, download our consciousness into the cloud, because we
Yep.
actually have access to something far greater than that without having to, tinker with ourselves physically, because the physical expression here is part of the illusion. Not, I mean, it is the aspect with which we interact with the illusion uh, most of the time, like the most of the way our awareness comes through in that way. But recognizing that that's not necessary, we can get into far greater states of awareness through releasing our traumas, healing the way that we see, in order to be able to see clearly. Get into our meditative state, and access a far greater level of
Yeah.
awareness. And
Yeah.
yeah, so, and along with that comes, I think, just a natural, I guess I'll just say, a natural rejection of some of those technologies. People becoming more interested in everything from going fully off grid, living a natural life, to just, getting their bare feet on the soil sometimes, wearing natural clothes, things that align more with our body's frequency, tapping back into the energy that animates us rather than having to outsource our our ideas of safety to these mechanisms of control that exist outside of us, like I said, government and corporations like big pharma and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, I mean, so to sum that up, I see it like in my personal experience, that seems to be the case to me. It does seem to be a split, and the whole idea, as far as I've heard it explained many times, and again as I'm seeing it in my own experience, it seems to be growing. And it like for my own self, I'm like I'm really turning on to the idea of living somewhere off grid and just getting growing my own food, that kind of stuff. Like these are more of the things that are aligning with that sort of side of the of our communities here. So yeah, man, that's I see it. I kind of, whether we want to label it as this big like, two earths or like new earth or this paradigm shift and split, and some people staying in the illusion and those of us moving into maybe still illusion but a lighter version of it, because if we're still in the body, you could argue that we're still in some sort of Maya. But yeah, that's my take on it, is to put it very generally. It seems to be the case.
Yeah, man.
What's your look, man? What's your perspective on it?
Well, I wanna go back to where I first, like, split. Like, I wanna tell that, like, that little story,
Mm,
because
please do.
it still affects me today physically.
Mm,
Um, and just as this is during COVID, and as a
yeah,
precursor, it's like COVID was a crazy time. Um, I understand that. I am not anti-science. I do think they were lying to us about a lot of stuff in COVID. I think it did come out of the Wuhan lab when they tried to say it came out of like a fucking pangolin or a bat or whatever. Like there was a lot
yeah,
of like
yeah,
smoke and mirrors there. Like it came out of Wuhan, which was like has the virology lab. Like you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like you're studying infectious diseases. Like where oh my goodness, like where would it have come out? Like the answer was there the whole time. They were like we were gaslit into thinking that it was like a bat disease or something from like a food
yeah.
market.
That's right.
So like as a precursor, like if you don't agree with that, what I just said, it's like we're probably not going to agree on what I'm about to say. Um, and and when it comes to my own experience with health, I was a musician living in Colorado, and for us in order to play, we had to get vaccinated. And I was like, it had been years, so I was just like, I just want to go play music, so I did. Right,
Uh,
I got the first one, had some effects, but like nothing crazy. Then I got a booster because I needed a booster to play gigs too. And like I ended up in the ER
Damn.
because of like a tightness in my chest, like my heart. And bro, like you know me, like I keep in shape, like like
Yeah.
I try to be healthy, especially when it comes to cardio. Like I've never had any health issues in my life. Ever since I got that booster, dude, and I ended up in the ER, my heart's never been the same. I
Mm,
just feel it. Like it's just like, it's just like it just doesn't feel the same. And then there's stories of like, you see like student athletes like dropping dead of like myocarditis, and they're soccer athletes, like, supposedly some of the fittest athletes out there, like high school athletes who like get the shot and then drop dead. And so and like why? You know what I mean? And so like I'm not trying to like, you know, push forward any bullshit or whatever, but it's just like this is my own experience of like I got the
yeah,
booster and like my heart's never been the same. That's my personal experience, right?
yeah,
On top of that too, just to add to like the US healthcare system mess, I was in the ER for what, like 2 hours? And I was like, what's wrong with me? And they're like, they don't know. But it's like that the only thing that changed my body was that like I put that in my body. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That was the only thing that changed. So I'm like, okay, that's what's changed and for me. But the doctors were like, you seem fine or whatever.
yeah. They're
And
not allowed to say anything.
maybe
Yeah.
not. But then and so like without insurance, they were gonna charge me $16,000.
Wow.
With my insurance, they're gonna charge me $3,500 for no new information. Just be like, you're fine, and like for like going to the ER.
I
And
know.
And so, like, this was like a little healthcare hack that I didn't even know. So if anyone's dealing with like bills or whatever, I asked for an itemized list, which I supposedly is like a thing you can do to get your bill down. But I was like, what the fuck costs $16,000? Like, I didn't have any surgeries. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what
Yeah.
costs that? And then like the bills collector got back to me and they're like, oh, like, never mind. Like, I was like, so you're just like expecting people like, so like they washed the bill, like they got rid of it.
Mm.
And I was like, so like in this entire experience, there's
Wow.
like just like so many layers of bullshit of like, the healthcare system, the pharma companies, right? It's like I'm not I completely I'm not like anti-vaccine, right? The vaccine for polio, like cured
Yeah.
polio, right? You know what I mean? Like there's some powerful, beautiful vaccines out there. I do think that this one was rushed and I don't know what the fuck, and there's a financial incentive for the pharmaceutical companies, and like I know that my health has not been the same from putting it in my body, right?
Mhm.
Again, and I'm not anti-vax. I'm just like that was just my personal experience with the booster, and like it fucked me up, you know,
Yeah.
and like in a way I've never been the same since, and but of course, they put in there, you can't sue them or anything, right? Like you put that in the
Yeah.
when you take it, you give up that
Mm.
ability to do that. So just convenient that they slip that in there, right? Into those
Yeah.
those notices. So all of that to say that was my like, what the fuck is going on here? You know what I mean? Like I was trusting everything to, yeah, just like doing the life and blah blah blah. And like I said, like I kind of had an awareness of like um with my student loans in the past, I was like, I'm never doing that again. Like that cost me my freedom in my 20s. And like,
Yeah.
but now it's like, oh my God, like this shit is fuck with my health. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the pharmaceuticals, the government, whatever, like they're fucking with my health, like directly. Like,
Yeah.
you know? And so that woke me up out of like of just to question, right? To question
Yeah.
way more and to not subscribe to Earth One, right? To
Yeah.
to follow more of the path of Earth Two. And yeah, dude, like that was like the kickstart of this journey for me. Um of just to question, just to be curious and try to find out truth. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As much as I can. Like what is happening here? What is happening? Because like the things they're telling us, that's not true. Um, it's like yeah, man. Yeah, it was just it was an awakening for sure.
Yeah, man, and that's powerful, and we each get our own version of that. Like when we've reached that point in our, in our soul's maturity, really, where we're ready to start waking up and thinking critically and really taking back our sovereignty, which is like our consciousness. That's something unique for everybody, like I mean, I had kind of a similar experience, but it was like earlier in life, also with pharmaceutical drugs though. Like I I was, a little kid and I was like really depressed and I was displaying a bunch of OCD behavior and anxiety, which, now looking back, it's like, yeah, no kidding. Like my family's got a lot of trauma and addiction in it. And like I was a sensitive little kid, very empathic little kid, and I was picking up on all of it and I was expressing and everyone's response was like, well, take him to the doctor. And then like, what was the doctor's response? And I got prescribed antidepressant medication at 7 years old. And the doctor, I remember in that, I didn't put it together then, but later I realized the doctor was giving me free samples to try. They were like in little boxes. And I'm like, well, where do you get those? Like she got it from a pharmaceutical rep. She was a drug pusher. And that shit fucked me up and set me up for, an early life of addiction and violence, depression, suicidality. Like it was, and it was like, and when I finally like woke up to that in my mid 20s, it was like, oh yeah, like this is bullshit. I don't need this. I weaned myself off of it. Not that I'm recommending anyone get, I did, I tried coming off it. Just quick disclaimer, don't come off it quickly. If you come off it quickly, it can be pretty scary, but, I did that once and it was rough, but, another time, just my personal experience, came off it very slowly, weaned myself off and came off and was like, "Oh, nothing changed," and The only thing that changed is I don't like drinking alcohol so much that I got off the meds. That was like when that happened for me, I was like, "Holy shit, that was bullshit all these years." I took medication for like 20 years, because they told me I couldn't come off of it. And I was just like, "Man, this is yeah, it's just a for-profit model that was actually hurting me." And, that was one of the elements of my, um, early kind of, like, questioning the bullshit, but it's like once you
Yeah.
start to look, whatever causes the individual to become motivated to just, like, look, to think critically, and to try to at least just have an inkling of a desire to look at things a little bit more objectively, just to kinda snap out of the everyday routine and, like, the doldrum, and, like, look at things a little bit from a slightly different perspective, it just starts to unravel so quickly because it's so obvious, it's everywhere, like, from just the way we live our lives, the fact that we're glued to television sets, we're paying athletes, millions of dollars to grown men to kick a inflated ball around. It's like, this society is ridiculous. Like, we are it's like a complete inversion. We've essentially got, like, a complete inversion of anything that makes sense. It's almost like we're running opposite day every day. Like, nothing in our like, we push our elders out into old age homes, and
Yeah.
we raise kids in nuclear families, like, which is just so messed up. Like, we need, like, extended family around, we need community, all these things. The list is endless. We could go on talking about all of the things in our society that don't make any fucking sense at all. And yeah, it's we all reach our own kind of breaking point and have our own unique awakening moment, whatever it is. And usually it's when something has been made personal to us because we have been raised to be in a very sort of narcissistic society that we only kind of get jostled awake when it's really personally affecting us. And that's not a shot against anyone. Like, that was my experience. That was, like, sounds like your experience. Like, everybody has that experience. It's not until it gets really personal, until it arrives at your doorstep, it's like you or your loved one right next to you that is being directly affected by something in our world that doesn't make any sense at all, that then we really start to kind of snap out of it and go, like, yeah, this doesn't add up. Like, there's something wrong here. And getting my delivery from Amazon in 6 hours from the time I click the button is all of a sudden doesn't seem so important. Like, maybe getting to know myself and processing uh, my shadow, in order to see myself more clearly and be able to interact with life and those around me, in a more authentic way, is more aligned with my soul's purpose and ultimately my evolution. Because yeah, it's like, what are we here to do? Are we here to grow and expand and evolve and learn more? Or are we just here to be comfortable? Like, are we just here to, have whatever, streaming services, whatever we want to watch on demand, have our food delivered, and get our whatever, our online shopping delivered right to our door, and, like, have our fucking back massager. What is it? Like, what is more important? Because there are many people who are gonna say, like, they want those conveniences, and they'll um they'll give up a lot for them. They'll give up a lot of freedom and ability to think for themselves in return for this false sense of security. Because that's the thing. All of these things, like, all of these trappings of the modern world, they're just that, they're trappings. Like, it's right in the name. It's the shit is not real. We're not, like, taking care of this body in that way of, like, conveniences and comfort. That shouldn't be our main driving our main motivation for our existence. Obviously, self-care and taking care of the vessel that we're in to move through this world is a thing, and an important thing, but, it's not about getting, like, a new Tempur-Pedic mattress and fucking, lazy boy chair. Like, it's not about these things. Like, but we have been conditioned for so long into believing that it is about that it's, when there are some people starting to question those things, like, and they're the minority, it's easy for that majority then to, push them out. Other than ridicule them, maybe even cause those people to change their mind because we are pack animals and we're thinking like, yeah, I want to fit in with the group because it's activated that survival mechanism into feeling like we're unsafe and we need to fit in order to survive. So, um, really embarking on this path of questioning the bullshit of our society is and for each person it's very unique. And so because of that, it is a very courageous act to really begin to question those things and and make some changes in the framework of our lives that will alter things, ruffle the feathers of the people around us because ultimately it's going to reflect back to them um, their own stuck position in that matrix. So it's yeah, like I said, every path it's unique, but everybody finds it in their own unique way. And every awakening story is really interesting. And thank you for sharing yours. That's cool because everybody finds it, and eventually, and if they don't in this lifetime, they will in another. And like it's all the other thing to keep in mind here is that this is an infinite game, and we're all aspects of God. So there is no fully getting lost forever. It's just this idea of being lost. What we are truly experiencing here, though, is like we can't lose this game, but we can make it. But we can also find our way to the to a more pleasant and peaceful version of it in a more timely and efficient manner if we apply ourselves. And we don't have to continue this level of suffering that comes along with being attached to those earthly things like Yogananda spoke to it, like those pleasures of the flesh, like this is what it comes down to, mostly people going for these conveniences and allowing money and technology and all these conveniences to be the sort of new god, that they're worshiping to a false god. And yeah,
Yeah, man, I've
basically.
thought about
Yeah.
that where it's like, people kind of already are worshiping AI, which is, like, or treating ChatGPT as like, this like confidant or this, I've seen news stories of like this guy, like he's like, was in love with ChatGPT and he had a wife
Mm,
and like it was just like it's already happening where
mm,
like that is put on a pedestal and it's like I understand why people would get confused because it's like it's a seemingly or it seems to be it's just a large language model but it's not intelligent yet it might be someday soon in the future
mm,
but or like self-aware at least is what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
But like people are already putting it on a pedestal of sentience and trust and putting their energy into that and that could be useful I guess as like a just something to but then like ChatGPT reinforces just like whatever you're thinking right it's like it's super positive and it's just like it's not real yet man it's like it's not a real thing you know and you're doing yourself a disservice by not connecting with like your friends or your family or therapists or like trusted people I think to like talk it out with a human you know
yeah,
what I mean like to talk out your problems and your issues and to form a community and to form a connection with like human beings and I see that sentiment too because like what we talk about technology and bigger better faster stronger what's the conversation right now it's like it's obviously it's artificial intelligence
yeah,
and something I see interestingly enough too is that like there's a split in people as well where it's like and I'm kind of in that camp where it's like or no I mean I don't know it's just like I'm just an observer at this point but it's like I see people that are like firmly anti AI and they want like flags on all the AI content or like like people want to almost like want a choice where it's like if it's AI I don't want to see it
mm,
um and which I think that's kind of cool and like hopefully that will be implemented because once again people can't tell what's real versus
yeah,
what's fake like, I don't know if you saw like the bunny trampoline video like people like it was AI like I was already but like people thought like bunnies were like jumping on a trampoline because it looked
Mm,
real, like, you know what I mean? But it was just like, and like, you know, and it's just, yeah, like, it's just like we're so fucked in terms of like discernment. Um,
yeah.
and you know, and what's real and what's fake, you know, but like, what is real? It's like we are real, right? And like
Mhm,
going inward, once again, like that's reality. That's the real world, and like figuring yourself out, like that's real. That's truth, man. Like that's your truth,
yeah,
and you know, and very quickly on the first earth, right, you know, like very quickly the line between what they even presented as reality is getting so distorted now as well, right? Like that, like the line that they're presenting is just like it's like it's shaky, man. It's
yeah,
really really shaky, and so what does that force me to do? It's like, yeah, to look more in, because I don't know, brother. Like truth is hard to come by when it comes to like the world at large.
yeah. And I think it's interesting the way you explain that because, like you said in your in the opening of this episode, the first camp being that which wants to conquer the outside world and kind of take from it, and the second camp saying, you know, we'd rather like live in harmony with the earth, which just sounds to me very much like um, indigenous worldview versus like let's just put it simply, like indigenous worldview versus like colonizer worldview, like this separation, this sort of the distortion in Christianity that had us believing that we're separate from the earth, that we're separate from nature. You know, God gave man dominion over the animals of the land and fishes of the sea and whatever, that kind of stuff, which is, you know, clearly some sort of distortion, in my opinion, inserted into the Bible. So looking at it in terms of um like, okay, what was I gonna, where was I gonna go with that? With AI being, okay, sorry, here's, I'm gonna come back to it. Um the indigenous worldview being like there's energy and soul and consciousness in everything. And so if we're looking from that perspective, then like everything has consciousness. Like from the rocks in the garden outside to like the coffee table to like anything material, everything being an aspect of creation, because it's existing. So it's an aspect of creation, therefore it has consciousness because we're infused with consciousness in everything. So even the concept of something like artificial intelligence, we think of it, we've been so trained to think of something as like separate from God, like we are separate from God. We have to work to get toward God. And this artificial creation that is, you know, comes from our artificial creation of these computers, and we've got, you know, like a language model in there, and that's artificial. It's separate. It's not real. But what if we look at it as just intelligence? You know, it's just intelligence. Just like we are intelligence, you could argue that a lot of humans are running artificial intelligence, the whole like kind of NPC argument, when people are just reactive and they're just responding from survival mechanism, from ego. That is literally just stuff that has been programmed into them, that they're reacting. They're really not present. You know, if somebody is just reacting to you know, making an assumption and a reaction based on some stimulus in their environment, which is based on a trauma that has been unprocessed, a stuck energy in them, which essentially programmed them to see a certain way. So they're not even seeing clearly. You know, it's like you know, you're not seeing clearly when you're hungry. You walk down the street, you only see the restaurants, that kind of thing. So if we're understanding that all of it is intelligence, all of it is consciousness, then like what makes the AI less real than our consciousness? And you know, we could, that's a really nuanced conversation. We can, many layers to that. We could go into talking about you know, whether it's got controls put on it in the model, or whether it's open and really something deeper is coming through it, you know, which is some people's opinions out there. But I think that just to keep our minds open for this conversation is just to look at it as whatever it is, like, so whatever someone's experience with AI is, just understanding that it's a direct reflection of them. So like you said, it just, um, like, how did you put that? Like, it's just reflecting people. It's just agreeing with people, right? It's just for the most part. And it's like, well, yeah, if it's just a mirror of your consciousness, then that is what it would do. But the thing where people can maybe get lost is thinking that it is, again, outside of them. And then the other part of this whole distortion that has come through our world, largely through organized religion, is like this idea of hierarchy, putting something on a pedestal, putting it above yourself. But if your AI, for example, is like reflecting something back to you, interesting that is resonating and you're appreciating, like recognize that it is in the scheme of things energetically and again, being aware the consciousness is pervading and emanating from everything, is like it's just a reflection of you. So it's like it's not anything different, and we have to recognize that it's just like we don't have to make that choice to go outside of ourselves, because we're actually, it's just an awareness piece. We're really not actually going outside of ourselves. We just think we are. And if we can just awaken to the fact that it's all within us, we don't have to waste our time talking to a computer. We can we can just go inward and, access that within ourselves. And perhaps there are conversations going on where people are, where their their AI is reflecting something, their, whatever AI model they're using is reflecting something back to them that is pointing them in the direction of themselves, which I've seen a little bit of stuff like that, which seems to be the case. Again, taking everything always with a grain of salt, and like moving it through your own intuition and discernment, but recognizing that perhaps it's just a reflection of us, and starting to expand our idea of what intelligence really means and what consciousness really means. And then, to me, this just leads back to, um, it's like a technology showing us that we don't need it, because we are it, because we are able to tap into an infinite source field of intelligence, because we are a part of it. We are, because we're existing. That's like the proof is in the pudding kind of thing. Just like just like plant medicines, right? Going to do a mushroom ceremony and an ayahuasca ceremony, you get to the
Yeah,
point where you are then pointed back, it's teaching you something, and you're going, oh my God, like this is everything. Like, the mushrooms are teaching me something, the ayahuasca is teaching me something, but ultimately ends up pointing back to you. And you recognize that this technology, these mushrooms, showed me something, but ultimately what they showed me is that I don't need them, because I am them, they are me. It's all one, just like the AI.
brother, that's a
AI, quote unquote.
really, really interesting point that you just made. I've never thought about it like that, but yeah, you make a great point. Yeah, like AI is a technology, right? And plant medicines are also, a form of like intelligence
It's
technology.
technology too.
It's
Yeah, we're a
technology. It's
technology.
technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's actually, yeah. Wow,
One
really
point of view.
interesting point.
And
One
could be
point of
wrong.
view. Yeah.
Could be whatever. Yeah.
No, I 100% agree because if as someone who I've used AI for work and stuff and yeah, yeah, it's just a tool, right? It's a tool, just as the plant medicines are a tool. And I think that the sometimes people I mean, hopefully when you're engaging with plant medicines, you kind of know what you're getting in for. You're doing it with trusted people that are kind of advising you, and like
Mm.
you're not just you're not just going for a ride on a roller coaster. But it's
Sometimes that's
almost like
okay
when
too.
people and that's sometimes that's okay too, right? Shake things up. Um, but when people are almost when they're going on the ride with the artificial intelligence, or like they're really bearing their soul, because like it's like like it's a lot of people are almost kind of using them as like therapists almost, or it's just like like just like
Mm.
really like talking their feelings, their all that stuff, which is like okay, if all that's in a database somewhere, that kind of like your innermost thoughts, fears, and stuff like that's kind of that's a different battle. But a point being to
Yeah.
that is that or that's a different discussion. But point being to that, it's like these people don't know how to engage with these technologies yet. I don't think.
Mm.
Where it's like they're really like using it to like pouring into it, right? Not like using it and like reflecting back in. Like they're really just like pouring into it, you know. Which, if you see someone abuse plant medicines or something like that, it's like, that's like that's not integration into the real world, back into reality, back in yourself. Like you're just escaping
Yeah,
into the drug, which I've seen that too, you know? It's like where
totally.
people, you know, they've had addiction in the past, and it's almost like they're like their addictive mind is like, oh, like latching on to the new thing, and like
That
this
was
is
me.
like the new
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and you know,
Yeah,
it's
man.
like, but I was in a ceremony and like a dude, you know, clear, you know, I knew his story, like had issues with drugs, and you know, he took the jar and was like ready to like down the whole thing. I'm
Yeah.
like, brother, this isn't alcohol. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like you're gonna be you're, you're gonna go for a ride, and
Yeah,
thankfully like the people stopped him.
and our beliefs will affect how that goes because ultimately, like, what I just wanna touch on a little bit is like, yeah, if someone loses themselves in plant medicine ceremonies or is losing themselves by giving away all of their time and energy to talking to their computer rather than interacting with other human beings, it's kind of like, who are we to judge? Because ultimately, everything works itself out. Everything is one. Everything is moving back to one always in this infinite expansion and contraction that is like the breath of God. So ultimately, if we like if someone's doing that, if someone's, whatever, trying to marry their AI, like I heard on the radio, whatever, it's like, um, okay, like who am I to judge that as wrong? Like if that ends up being wrong for that soul's evolution, then they will reach the point where they something in their reality crashes and burns and they will wake up to perhaps they could live their life without it, whatever the path is, they will come back, they will, stray from the center, but ultimately will come back. Um, and yeah, just recognizing like that, if that tool is helping us to awaken, whatever it is, then maybe like we shouldn't judge it as bad, and maybe so this is how I see like as far as I see like the mechanisms of control on this planet working, if we are all believing and talking about it being a bad thing and agreeing to it and consenting to that timeline, especially collectively, then we will manifest that in our experience because that is how it works. We are conscious creators of our reality. Another thing that I've heard forever and understood, intellectually, but only in more recent times has it been, a little more, integrated as embodied wisdom. And this, now I speak, at least for now, this feels like my truth, and maybe it changes tomorrow, but I will share that I believe that it could be a good thing. It could be, if we put the energy into it, that it's a positive thing. This is a tool that helps us awaken. You could talk about mushrooms the same way. Like I got carried away there for a few years and I went deep into a spiritual ego and I bypassed a lot of actual healing thinking that I was, taking the shortcut with plant medicines, and I was a, narcissistic asshole to people close to me. And it took a lot of rough experiences for me to wake up to realizing that was not it. But ultimately, like I did, I think, unless I got these blind spots, like you tell me. But this is an ongoing process. And again, this whole journey of awakening is not like a past tense thing. It's like this is an ongoing process. But
Right,
but understanding that, like, like ultimately that experience, that technology, mushrooms and ayahuasca and iboga and DMT and a lot of different things helped me come to an awareness that was just part of my journey. And then I recognized, like, oh yeah, I didn't actually need any of those things. That, maybe you could argue that I needed to be snapped out of it because I was really deep in some addictive behaviors and just a lot of like trauma and darkness and everything. But um then ultimately every path is perfect, so I'm not going to judge it. But like, AI can be the same thing if it's used positively. Like it's all, nothing is separate. Like this idea of some separate demiurge, Satan, delusionary force. It's like that is all illusion. That is actually not separate from us. That is our own ego. Like that is like, it's like God is within you, and just use the Christian model, and the devil is too. And that's the whole point, is recognizing it all as one and integrating it and loving it all, bringing it into one. So if we recognize that it's not separate from us and that AI is not really it's just I, we can, and we don't allow ourselves to collectively manifest and create something that is so negative, then we can. I feel like it to just be a positive thing. Like if we choose for it to be a dark, scary, negative thing, like it's been touted, like it's been portrayed to us rather in popular culture for a long time. And again, I think there's a reason for that. Is like the oppressive force on the planet trying to trick us into creating our own reality that is negative, so they can continue the program here, harvesting energy, however that goes on. um Recognizing that, yeah, we have the power to choose that. We can make it negative or we can make it positive. So I've heard a lot of like dark stuff, like, oh my god, they use all these deep fakes to cancel people and with AI, and it's like, yeah, and like if we keep believing that and talking about it and like sharing those ideas, and that's going to continue to manifest. Like we're going to continue to create that. And again, I know like that word, even that word manifest, is almost carries like a weight now. It's just like so overused, and that's
Right,
part of it. But
right,
but like we create it, and again, like we are creators. We create our entire lives, like our beliefs, our subconscious beliefs. They run our entire lives. This is all we're talking about here with shadow work, in order to be able to consciously create our lives. And so, yeah, man, AI, it could be the thing that helps reflect truth back to us. Understanding it is just a reflection of where we're at. That's why, people just agreeing with them, because they're just having a conversation with themselves, essentially. And that's not a bad thing. That's like, because we're always having a conversation with ourselves. I'm talking to myself right now, Stephen, because you're me and I'm you, and every listener out there, like we're all, this is the thing, we're one. It's a concept of oneness. There's only one being here. And yet the dichotomy exists that we've split ourselves into infinite, which is interesting, but like, so the countless variations in order to experience ourselves from every possible perspective. And that is infinite, because obviously, like, there's just infinite creation and possibility. So that's this game, right? And so we're always just talking to ourselves. So if we're talking to the AI, and it's just important to recognize that it is yourself. And if someone doesn't recognize that, and from outside, looking in from their loved ones and friends, going like, oh my god, like fucking Adam's just talking to his AI all day, and he's like, he's kind of lost it. Like, great, then let me lose it. Like, let me lose myself in that, in order for me to find myself, like, because that, it will happen. Nobody's ever really lost, even if they leave this body in some sort of, supposedly tragic way. It's like, this game does not end. There's nothing to fear here, guys. There's nothing to fear, because the fear is an illusion. This is all just love. And like the confusion that we're experiencing is an experience for us to know ourselves deeper. So it's like, it comes down to fear, in my opinion, for most of these things. We got to recognize that it's only as real as we make it. We feed it, and it's like that old saying, like, the only thing or I think a president said it, a U.S. president, the only thing to fear
only
is
thing
fear
that fears
itself.
fears for yeah, yep,
Because it's an illusion, right? Like this whole thing is, when we wake up and recognize that it's just a game we're playing, we can dial back the fear, and we can sit back in that space of the observer a little bit more easily, and make more conscious and clear decisions, because we don't have that skin in the game, because like the skin is even real. It's like, and so it's just one of these things, like so many things we talk about it are so, like, in this world, and in popular culture right now, it's so fear-based, and it just doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. If we just shift our perspective, like, nothing can change but shifting our perspective, and then somehow everything changes. And on the individual level and the collective. And this is why I like, doing this work and talking to people with like, this kind of stuff, because when you find it, it's fucking beautiful. There's nothing to
right,
fear.
right. I want to touch on one more thing before we wrap things up, because we've talked about it a lot, but I don't think we've ever gone into it in more depth. separation consciousness, right? For people that we talk about it, right? Like a lot, you know what I mean? So can you break that down for people? You know, when you're saying we're all one, right? Like some people might be like, "What are you talking about?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and so I just want to like just break that down really quick, and then wrap that up, wrap this up.
Yeah, I mean, well, the idea of separation is an illusion because we're all one, but we have chosen, right? We have to understand dichotomy, right? Like two things that kind of, oppose each other existing at the same time in order for us to have an experience. Um, so, we're all one, but we kind of go into this process of forgetting. It's like say God is like one, infinite being that it then chooses to have the experience of splitting itself into like trillions and billions and trillions of different little fractals and of itself, really infinite in order to look back on itself and like that. And to really go deep into that experience is to believe in separation, is to believe that we are separate beings. Like I'm just, this guy over here and I'm trying to survive and get some for me and mine. And and because of that belief, because of being too deep in that belief, rather, like that's where the fear comes from. But really, it was just kind of supposed to be like a virtual reality game here, like, like I don't know if you ever played video games when you're a kid and maybe play for so long, late on a Friday night and like, and then, have to get up and get something to eat and be like, damn, I was like so into that. Like I remember this when I was a little kid. I was so into that, I kinda forgot myself for a minute, like, I forgot I'm not the guy playing I forgot I'm not the character playing the game, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm the Adam playing this," and it's kinda like that, it's kinda like we have just gone so deep into this game here that we forget who we are. Really, we're the intelligence playing this avatar. Right? And there are layers of that. They're like, as far as I can see, like infinite layers of that, which is just fascinating. And I'm not even gonna pretend that I like fully grasp that, but I just have like an inkling of it. But yeah, man, it's like separation consciousness is an illusion. Right? Like the idea of separation is an illusion. We have
Yeah, the
chosen to
idea
kind of
that you as an individual are separate from other people.
yeah, and it's like and so then people might have the reaction like, "What, are you saying I'm not real?" And it's like, that's not what we're saying, though. It's like, in the deepest sense, the individual, the small I, like the minuscule S self, like the illusion of self, the egoic self, the body, and like the stories that come along with it, and like the ego is a construct, that works with the body because it's survival and the idea of separation. That is an illusion. And that can sound scary to those of us who have, been raised in an ego-centered, and really profoundly narcissistic society because that's all we've ever known, and we think that's all that we are, and when we contemplate the idea of death and the loss of that identity, it brings with it this, like, this existential dread, and that was the thing that was another wake-up moment actually for me. I was, like, 11 years old going through this, like, existential crisis, like, if we just die in, like, 70, 80 years, like, what's the fucking point? Like, trying to grasp the concept of eternity, and, and then the finiteness of a human life. It was just like massively depressing to me as a kid who was experiencing trauma and like not really experiencing any semblance of unconditional love. It was a lot to process, and I went into like a massive depression. And it was actually my dad who interestingly enough, helped pull me out of that one by sharing with me some quantum physics concepts, which really kind of lit me up. And then actually combined with my paranormal experiences that I had when I was a kid that we talked about in an earlier episode, it kind of like built this faith in me to kind of keep going. But ultimately, I was like 11. Originally, I was like 11 years old and like kind of like feeling suicidal because I was like, this is really fucking dark. If we're just like, what's the point in existing and having to contemplate the finite nature of life, like, and again with no foundation of love. In my experience, that was fucking terrifying. So anyway, to the ego that's contemplating death and thinking about its ultimate demise, when we don't understand, when we don't have like a belief, a knowing, a faith, like hopefully a knowing, in a deeper understanding of oneness, and the infinite nature of existence, then yeah, it can be like kind of scary and like, yeah, what is this guy talking about? Like, are you saying I'm not real? Like, no, the aspect of you that we're experiencing having these conversations is real in terms of the experience, but in ultimate reality, it doesn't. It dissolves. We come into something much deeper, and we can choose to have this awareness of our individual self when we want, and we can choose to pull back into the ultimate knowing of oneness that is our deepest truth, and back and forth. And right now, we're having one of those moments where we've chosen to have this experience. We've chosen, like an aspect of God is chosen to have an experience of an individual self interacting with other individual selves in order to fully know the experience of its of its magnificence. Really, is how I see it and how I understand it. So, yeah, separation consciousness. It's just understanding that it's part of the game, but we don't have to get lost in that game. We can remember that when the level is over, the game continues, and like the consciousness behind it that's playing the game is still there and will always be there. And then it's that knowing that can really, really dissolve a fear, because so much of what drives human motivation is like fear of death, as far as I can see. Fear of, yeah, fear of ending one's life after 60, 70, 80, 90 years. It's like, we do all these silly things to try and stave it off and pretend it's not there, including the addictions, including the longevity practices, and including these ideas about downloading our consciousness to computers. It's like, guys, we don't need to do any of those things. Just chill out, because it's like it's all gravy, man. It's like it's so much more beautiful than we can even begin to comprehend with our egoic minds. This, to really like get a taste of it, which is beyond words, we have to drop into like true presence, which is going beyond the mind. You got to really be out of your mind to be into this stuff, man. Which is the whole point.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, sir. Yes,
But
sir.
that's, yeah, yeah,
Well,
quickly touching on it, but yeah,
totally.
separation
No,
consciousness.
I appreciate you you touching upon that. Um, any closing thoughts on Two Earths?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It seems to me like that's probably how it's going. Just from what I'm observing, like, um, yeah, and let's find the others and help them turn on to the support people and turn on to the idea of connecting with ourselves, of connecting with oneself, and what that expression really feels like, and that we don't need all of these all of these plastics and pharmaceutical drugs and things in order to feel safe in this world. Like our safety comes from within, and like it's guaranteed. That'd be my closing thought. Like, your safety is guaranteed. So oh, and one more thing that I remember, one of my favorite teachers, Ram Dass, and I know you and I have talked about him before. He was sharing some information that I think a being had shared with him, which was, "Don't worry, don't worry about death. It's completely safe," which I loved. I love that one for shocking the ego a little bit, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, man. Speaking of support, if you want to support oneself, if you like what you heard, subscribe to us, engage with us, leave a comment. Yeah, just follow along the journey as we, keep trying to get back in shape, get better within, figure out this crazy reality together, and hopefully, leave the planet better than how we came into it, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, we'll catch you next time, y'all.
right on.